Hello, my name is Doug Leisure, and I want to record this video to give you the instructions to use for setting up my donation software for your church or religious organization. If you're watching this video and you haven't seen a demo of my donation software, then follow the link in the description and check out that video first. This video is really intended for those to whom I've sent the software and they're trying to get it prepared for their use. Okay, so I would have sent you a copy of the Excel file that contains my software and a user guide in email. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and create a folder where we will put this Excel file and the user guide. Now you can put it in your documents, you can put it in your desktop, create the folder there. However, sometimes Microsoft is actually taking the things on your desktop and your documents and putting it out to their OneDrive automatically. So if that's the case, then you would want to make your folder somewhere else. Same thing with Macintosh. Sometimes it's going out to the Apple iCloud. So just check that out first. Make sure your documents or desktop items aren't just ending up there. If they are, then create the folder somewhere else. I'm going to go ahead and put it on my G drive. So I've already gone to my G drive. I'm just going to right-click and create a new folder. You can name it just about anything you want to. But for our example, I'm going to pretend that I'm setting this up for the First Baptist Church. So I'm going to go ahead and create the folder name that way. Okay, again, just creating a folder, and this folder then will contain the files that I sent you. So download them off of your email, and again, I would say both the user guide as well as the Excel file, and drop those in this new folder that you just created. Okay. You'll notice that the file I sent is named 2022 Master Weekly Giving. 2022 because this is the version that I'm releasing in the year 2022. So go ahead and rename it, and I would say probably we can do something like First Baptist Church Donations or something like that. We'll just replace 2022 with First Baptist Church and leave everything else the same. I'm going to be a little bit lazy here. I'm going to actually make a copy of all of that name, because I'm going to need it here in just a second. Okay, so we've renamed it. Now we're going to open it in Excel. Okay, and if you get this message about enable content, it's because it has macros, and it wants you to give it permission to use those macros. So go ahead and enable content, and then we'll get a little prompt here that we want to actually ignore that for a second. So I'm just canceling out of there and going to the Parameters tab. So the Parameters tab is where we customize this for your church or your religious organization. We'll start at the top and work our way down, but first, I think one of the first things we want to do is come down here to cell B24. Now this is where we have the name of the Excel file. As you modified it, exactly whatever that name is what we want to dump in this cell. So we'll just come up here. I went ahead and copied it when I was renaming it. So now I can just simply paste that back in. Okay. Okay, so it's very important that the name of the Excel file and this parameter for the name of the Excel file match exactly. So that's the first step. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go come back to here, start at the top again, and start to make a couple small changes to customize it. So again, pretending that we're doing this for the First Baptist Church. So what is the year that we're receiving our donations? 2022 is correct. And now we'll put in the church name and address. Okay, and then we can do for our receipts, we can have different header and footer rows in there. So I'll go ahead and set those items appropriately. And you would be probably editing the content yourself as opposed to copying and pasting like I'm doing. I just have these words saved somewhere else. Okay, so now we have a church name, a footer for the receipt, and now do we want to display our receipts as a monthly format or a weekly format or in further detail? Those are some of the options, and these things are also discussed in the user guide that I sent you. So please go ahead and take a look at that as well. We'll leave that as monthly. Reports will do monthly as well. Here's another item for the report, the monthly report footer. So we'll stick our information in there as well. We'll modify that slightly to have my name in there. Okay, work our way down through some of the different parameters here. Here's the next important thing. The software works in Microsoft Excel on a PC or a Mac. However, there are differences between Excel Mac and PC Mac. So it's important that we identify which kind of a computer we're running on. So if you're on PC, just leave it as PC. If you're on a Mac, then you would just switch that to Mac. Also, we have a custom menu built into this, so you don't have to be familiar with Excel to use this software. Okay, but the keystroke to bring up that custom menu is different between PC and Mac. So in the PC, we use Control M. In the Mac, we would want to change that, and typically that would be Option Command X on a Macintosh. Now in the PC world, the Control M will be set up automatically within the software, but on the Macintosh version, somehow Microsoft messed that up a little bit, and the command to set this automatically, it doesn't work on the newer versions of Excel on a Mac. So you'll need to do the setup to make Option Command X work on a Macintosh. It's in the user guide, but I'll show you just real quick. It's just as simple as going here to the View menu, Macros, view the macros, choose the Display menu. That's the thing that comes up whenever you do that keystroke. And we just simply go to Options and set it up. Instead of the M, we set it to X. Okay, and then you click OK, and then you run it. And then you cancel out of it the first time. And that's all it takes then to set up Option Command X. Alright, so we'll set it back to PC because I'm actually doing this presentation then on a Windows PC. Okay, great. So we're done with some of the customization. There's a little bit more that we need to do. The next part is related to the funds or the categories that you use when you're receiving your donations. You can have up to 20 different categories, but it wants you to tell it to just simply identify how many you want to display. So let's presume we're doing four categories or 4 funds, and then the other thing we want to do is to go ahead and provide your name for those funds or categories. So I'll go ahead and paste in the ones that we're using: General Fund, Missions, Building and Benevolence Fund. Okay, so we're using 4, and these are the names of those 4. And again, you can have up to 20. All right, the next part is related to the currency. If you're using this in the US, no, nothing needs to be changed. Nothing needs to change because it's already set up for US currency. If you're using this in a different country, then I'll show you a little bit later then how we can switch this to use a different currency. I'll also show you at the same time how we can switch this to display everything in a different language other than English. But we'll hold all that off for a little bit later. Okay, once you have set these things up, the next thing you'll want to do, I'm sorry, you know what? Let me go ahead and let me show you how easy it is to switch it to a different currency. I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to Canada, the currency for Canada. Okay, so they use pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, but instead of ones, they have loonies, and they also have a toonies, a $2 coin. So in total, we'll need 11 rows of currency, coins and dollars, and then we'll just simply paste in or adjust the coin or dollar name as well as the value. Okay, so pennies are worth 0.01, nickels are worth 0.05. It's just that kind of a simple concept. All right, so we're still displaying everything in English, which would work in most of Canada, but we've switched the currency to be these 11 items. Once you're done making these changes, we'll use the custom menu. Option number 9 is the one that would clear everything out if you've started to make any entries, any donation entries. It clears it all out and it gets ready to begin again. But we also use option number 9 then to reset the entire spreadsheet based on the parameters we've entered here. Okay, so let's go ahead and use option number 9. Do you really want to do this? Yes, we do. Go ahead and clear it and reset it. Okay, so I forgot to tell you an important step. After making those couple of initial changes, we want to, on the parameters tab, we want to do an Excel save to save our current changes. Okay, and then I'm going to suggest that we go ahead and exit, just this first time, exit the Excel file and open it back up again. So with some of those changes we made to the parameters, we want those to actually be inside of the Excel file as we open it. Okay. All right. Now that we have closed it, saved it, closed, and opened it back up again, now we want to go ahead and do Control M or Option Command X if you're on a Mac. And this is one of the first things we want to validate, is that the custom menu comes up with options 1 through 9. If not, then you probably have messed up this item right here, where the file name and the file name you entered here don't match exactly. Let me just real quick show that to you. So if we modify it so that it doesn't match and we do the Control M, right, it'll tell us that we are not in the master file. Okay, so all right, so it's telling us we called it Baptist Church Master Weekly Giving, but the real name is up here, First Baptist Church, etc. Okay, so that if that menu doesn't come up, that's probably the problem. So let's go ahead and put that back again to the right name. Control M, and again just validating that the custom menu launches. All right, and now we want to use option number 9. Do you want to reset everything based on the entries we made in the parameters? Yes, we do. Okay, so all of the changes have been made to all the different tabs based on those parameters, and it's asking us to enter a donation date. Now, if we're ready to actually begin entering a donation, we would just set the appropriate date and begin the entry. But what we're doing now is really just getting everything set up and make sure it's set up properly. So let's just cancel this and let's just take a look around. Okay, so we have 4 funds or categories, and I can see that benevolence doesn't quite fit here. If you need to make some changes to these, you can use a common Excel commands or techniques and for making a column wider. However, the entire the spreadsheet is actually protected or locked, so you can't accidentally be making changes in places that you shouldn't. So if you do need to do something even as simple as widening this column, you'll need to unprotect this worksheet tab first. So we unprotect it, make the subtle change that you need, and then protect it again. And again, these kinds of things are mentioned in the user guide. All right, so we have our 4 categories. Let's scroll down here. And sure enough, we have 11 items displayed here, and that includes the Canadian loonies and toonies. So we did successfully switch it over to a Canadian currency. Okay. So for most of you, those are the steps you need to go through in order to get things prepared for using it at your church or your religious organization. I do want to take a second and go ahead and take a look at, for those foreign churches, what do they need to do to convert this to start using their language and currency. So actually the currency is just what we looked at already, right? It's just a matter of coming to the parameters and putting in the correct name of your coin and your dollar bills, as well as the value and the number of items that you wish to display. Okay. For the translation to another language, we have a translation tab. And basically the concept here is that in column E here we have all of the terms in English that the software needs to use. And over here in column F will be the custom language that you want to display. And I'm going to suggest probably the easiest way to get started is to go ahead and just copy all of this out of Excel. Go over to Google Translate and paste in each of those items. Okay, now this first one's kind of lengthy, but Google's happy to take all of those items, and now we can come over here and we can just simply copy that. Okay, so I chose Spanish here, so we're going from English to Spanish. Copy all of those terms, the converted or the translated words. Come back to the Excel file, and here in the yellow cells, just simply paste in those words. Okay, so this is English, and now this is Spanish. You'll notice here just a couple of items that are highlighted in this pinkish color here, and that's because these are some pretty specific special cells that need to match exactly. And what I mean by that is just simply, if we take a look at this, receipts are displayed monthly, weekly, or in detail, right? And so Google translated as this, right? Displaying it in mensual, semanal, detalles, right? However, we need to make sure that these individual words that go along with this line here are exactly the same as these three here. This one matches, this one matches, this one does not. So Google translated this weekly into something different than it did the monthly, right? So here's a case where we would want to edit this to make it match exactly. And I guess technically you could have edited this cell. Your choice, whichever would make the most sense, but these are the ones that need to match exactly. Okay, so now weekly, monthly details match the prompt here. Same thing down here. This was translated correctly as mensual seminal. Okay, and then down here we need to also make sure that these two cells are using the same term for custom. And it looks like they both were translated the same. Okay, so that's what you would want to do to make a translation then from English to another language. By default, when I send it to you, it'll have Portuguese in there, but you can easily translate it, as they say, to a different language. And I think a good way to start, rather than retyping everything, is just let Google Translate do that. So just do that for the other items that are here. Yeah, there's a few, but it shouldn't take too long to get them set up. And actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you, once you've converted it to different languages, go ahead and just let me know which language you converted it to, and I'll probably ask you to send back this column in another Excel file, so that I can actually start building a library of these languages and translations as well. Okay, all right. Just to kind of show you what it might look like, I'm going to open up a different Excel file where I've already done the translation and the currency change for a church in the Dominican Republic. So let me go ahead and shut this one down, and I'll open up the other one. Okay, and there's the security warning. So we want to enable content, and it's prompting me in Spanish for the donation date. And if I were ready to begin entering a donation, I would go ahead and set the date here and start making the entries here in this entry tab. But let's go ahead and cancel out of there. And then there's our other prompt talking about the custom menu that we could bring up using Control M. And again, the menu is the prompt is in Spanish. Okay. If we look around at the entry sheet, you'll see that the categories are in Spanish, as well as all of the other cells. Everything is in Spanish. And we also have then the currency entry here for the DR peso. And all of that was done over here, setting this up. The translation, as I showed you, setting up all of the words here, the translations from English to Spanish, and then switching the parameter from English to custom. And that's what caused everything then to start displaying in Spanish. Okay, and then it was just a matter of going through and putting in the information for our Baptist church there in Santo Domingo. Setting up the categories as well, the donation categories. And then, as I showed you on the Canadian currency, setting up the currency here for the DR peso. All right, so we have 9 items, and then the other items are not being used, so we don't fill those in. Okay, I think that's really about all you need to know for setting this up. And if you have any questions, you can just respond to me through the email that I used to send you a copy of the donation file. All right. Thank you. Talk to you later.